All eyes are on Caleb Wilson and Cam Boozer, and understandably so, but it's the backcourt battle that's going to decide whether we go to bed happy or not on Saturday.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, February 5th, 2026. I want to welcome you into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network there is. Thanks for joining us, for making this your first listen or watch to get your Thursday going the right way. Special shout out to our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up on today's show, man, we got some more Duke preview stuff we're going to do. It's going to be great. I want to talk about the singular factor that's going to determine the winner of tomorrow night's, what is today? Thursday? Saturday's game. We're going to talk about where North Carolina can win this game, including what matchup the Heels have to exploit in order to do so. And finally, we'll wrap up with a rivalry reality check. Say that 5 times fast, where both times have to take stock of what the other team does better. By the way, tomorrow on Friday, it'll be a 2-show Friday. Coach Rob and I will have the Duke preview, just kind of our standard game preview. And then JJ Jackson, the host of Locked On Blue Devils, and I have already recorded a crossover that's going to come out at noon Eastern tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And of course, as always on Saturday, we will go live after the game. Please, dear goodness, let it be a therapy, or not be a therapy session, but a party. I have already reverse jinxed the Tar Heels on that crossover, so you're welcome. We're in good shape there. All right, let's get right into this thing. The one thing that decides the North Carolina Duke game is not who wins in the Caleb Wilson versus Cameron Boozer matchup at the power forward position. And I know that seems weird because that battle is all anyone's talking about. And as well they should, right? This is two guys that were teammates in AAU, won a Peach Jam championship together along with Caden Boozer, Cam's brother. They are both presumptive projected top 5 picks in the NBA draft next year. So it makes sense. All eyes are going to be watching them. But I am of the firm belief that these front courts are more or less going to cancel each other out. Although, could you get an edge? There's the thing. But because of that belief, I truly think that the backcourts, which quite honestly are not the greater strength for either team, whoever can up the ante and win the backcourt battle is who is going to win this basketball game. So a couple sub points for me. I got 3 of them I want to share with you. Basically, if UNC wins the backcourt battle, they win this game. If they don't, could be a long night and we're not happy Saturday. But number one, as we think about this backcourt battle, Derek Dixon. How does he handle just his 6th collegiate basketball start? Thankfully, the first game is at home this year. I think that's a good thing for Carolina. But, man, there's just something different about that game. So how does he handle the pressure? And I don't mean Duke full court pressure, although we might see that wrinkled in. I mean the pressure of the moment. How does he live up to that? There has been nothing in Derek Dixon's game or demeanor that suggests to me that he won't be anything but ready for this. Truly believe he will be. But you got to see it. You never know. Until somebody is thrown into the fire of a game like this, you don't know how they'll respond and react. So that is something critical to watch. How does Derek Dixon handle this moment? Number 2, as you think about the Duke side of the backcourt, what the Tar Heels have to do, it's not a lead point guard we're worried about. Frankly, I think Carolina's in better shape with Derek Dixon. I've never really believed in Caleb Foster as a lead point guard. I think Caden Boozer is infinitely the better true point guard, but he's coming along as a freshman, some of that stuff. But the guy that Carolina has to keep in check is Isaiah Evans. He's a returner from last year. He's their 2nd leading scorer. And so you want to slow him down. I don't know that you can completely stop him, but you can slow him down. I would imagine Seth Trimble is going to have that assignment. And so we're going to watch how that goes. We think of Evans, I almost said Isaiah Denis, as a 3-point guy. And he's a really beautiful stroke. I think he's great. And he takes the most attempts on their team, 7 attempts a game. But right now, Isaiah Evans is only hitting 33.5% from 3 on the season. I think we can feel that pain, right, Tar Heels? And over the course of the last 6 games, it's even worse. He's 10 of 39 from 3, which is 25.6%. This is not the game to let Isaiah Evans break out. So I'm not saying like clog the paint, dare him to shoot the 3. No, because he will hit it. But what Carolina can't do is be the team that lets him get back on track from beyond the arc. Not Saturday, baby. Not Saturday. All right. Third thing in who wins this backcourt battle, which again, I'm identifying as the key to winning the whole shebang here. Number 3 is Seth Trimble. So much of what he does, both in terms of his game skill and his experience, are so critical in this moment. He's critical because he is the senior leadership. He's the one that's been through this now, 3 games last year, 7 games against Duke, plus more watching his brother play against Duke. So he knows the energy of this moment. He knows how to harness it well, because that's something you got to figure out. He knows how to have poise, keep his head in the midst of the chaos of a rivalry game of this magnitude. And that's something critically important. And I know Caleb Foster's a junior. You got Malik Brown, who's a senior, although it's just his second year for Duke after coming over from Syracuse. But those guys just don't know it at the level that Seth does. So Seth is so critical to winning the backcourt battle and therefore the game. For my money's worth, Seth Trimble has an opportunity, a chance to be the most dominant player in the backcourt for either team. You think about it because of his capability on both sides of the floor, the job he's going to have to do as a defender. Again, I'm assuming on Isaiah Evans, his ability to get out and transition, to get in passing lanes, to steal. He's been knocking down a couple shots from outside. If you can get that from Seth, get him to the rim, allow him to finish, boy. So again, whoever wins the backcourt battle, to me, is the team that wins the basketball game. And I think that Carolina is in good position with that backcourt, and that's encouraging to me. Now, that said, there are obviously a lot of other factors that are going to go into winning this basketball game. What's it going to take for Carolina to actually do so? Well, for one, you got to stop or at least try to slow down Cam Boozer. What else? I'll let you know about that in just a second.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated Tennessee 96-66, turning a halftime tie into a historic win and avenging last season's loss by delivering the largest margin in the rivalry's history. AZ Fudd had 27 points and Sarah Strong added 26 as the Huskies remain perfect on the season, reminding everyone why they are the reigning national champions. In the Big Ten, number 2 UCLA rolled past number 8 Iowa 88-65, powered by 22 points from Angela Dukelich and a huge advantage in the paint, staking their claim as a national threat. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day, and for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network. Really appreciate all of you being part of that and making it what it is. And you already live your team every day with me, right? Now you can take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club right now, and you get ad-free episodes of the show and many other perks as well. Check it out. That link is in the show notes. All right, so where UNC can win this game, where the Tar Heels can legitimately knock off the so far undefeated in ACC play Duke, who only has 1 loss in totality on the season. Which, by the way, I'll just mention here quickly, and maybe Coach Rob and I'll talk more about this tomorrow. I don't think this Duke team is as good as last year's Duke team. I think this Duke team is very good, but last year's Duke team I thought was national championship good. And I'm not saying this team couldn't win the national championship. I just think they're going to be a longer shot to do it than last year's team was. So it's interesting because they're performing much better. A lot of that is Cam Boozer. He is a high-level winner. So 3 kind of categories of where UNC can win this game. So the number 1 category, what is the matchup that the Tar Heels have to exploit? Oh, I'm glad you asked that. That's a great question, you all. For me, it's at the center position, and specifically Henri Veesaar's outside capability. One of the great things is that it's not just about like, oh, you want to get Patrick Ngongba, their starting 5, out away from the rim, and so just for giggles, for willy-nilly's sake, you use your 5 to go float around the perimeter. Everybody's not going to do anything. Oh, not this year, because Henri Veesaar is going to go out there, and he's Carolina's right now best 3-point shooter from a percentage standpoint. And so what I want to see Henri Veesaar do is draw Patrick Ngongba out away from the rim. He is their leading shot blocker, although it's just 1.3 blocks a game. As a team, it's weird because Duke is, per KenPom, the 2nd tallest team in the nation, but they don't block that many shots. It's kind of odd. It's not like true shot blocking, but they are long and rangy, very good defensively and that kind of thing. But I'd love for Henry to draw Pat Ngongba out. And I'm not saying he has to live outside, but every possession, maybe float out there, maybe get up for that high pick and roll, test Ngongba's switchability, his ability to move horizontally, whatever it is. Let's try that out. Pick and pop for Henry, taking some threes. If Ngongba has to try to recover, get Henry going to the rim or whatever it is. Get them in some rotation. I don't know. We'll see. But if Henry can get Ngongba lifted, that creates space for Caleb to go to work in the paint against Cam Boozer. It creates driving lanes for Seth Trimble and Luka Bogavac and Jonathan Powell to go slam another one. That was crazy the other day. But also, if Ngongba, I'm sure on the scouting report, like it would be malfeasance of John Shire to not put it on there, that he has to get out on Veesaar, right? Like you can't leave Veesaar alone. You got to recover to him. But if for some reason Ngongba doesn't, because he's worried about Seth getting to the rim or something like that, cool. Buckets, Henri Veesaar dropping threes on you all night long. So we'll see. So that's the matchup that for me, Carolina must exploit, is Henri Veesaar's outside capability. Next thing, Carolina can win this game. The Duke strength that the Tar Heels have to neutralize. There's literally no one else I can say here than Cam Boozer. Talk about malfeasance. That would be malfeasance of me to not name him in that regard. It's very similar to how Duke functioned universally through Cooper Flagg last year. The same is true with Cam Boozer this year. Everything flows through him. He has a 30% usage rate. That's higher. For comparison's sake, Caleb Wilson's is 28% something. He leads Duke and the ACC in scoring at 23.3 points a game. He leads Duke and the ACC in rebounds at 9.9 a game, as Caleb's has come down a little bit here, meaning literally no ACC players are averaging double-doubles right now. That's kind of crazy. Leads Duke as an assist man at 4 assists per game. Again, as a reminder, I'm not a big believer in Duke's backcourt, their actual like point guards, because I just, that's not Caleb Foster's game, and it doesn't really seem like that's translated or adapted to become more of his game now. And so it's going to flow through Cam Boozer. So Caleb's got to be ready. Also leads Duke in steals, 1.9 steals a game. Unlike Cooper Flagg, though, he doesn't lead Duke in blocks. He is 3rd in that category last time I checked. So the thing is, look, you're not going to stop Cam Boozer. He gets to the line a ton, which is fine because he's not a great shooter. We'll talk about that more in a second. He's so good, you guys. Legitimately, Cam Boozer is very good, and he affects winning in a multitude of ways as we're looking at. But what Carolina has to do is force someone else to beat them. Now, I'm curious. Usually, we're having a lot of conversation about is the opposition going to double Caleb and or Henry? In this game, I think that's something you got to think about. Are you going to double Cam, or are you going to allow Caleb or Jarin when he comes in, Jarin Stevenson, to play straight up one-on-one. I think Carolina will probably go one-on-one unless it just gets abusive and they can't handle it at all. Then you might consider bringing those doubles, and I'm sure they've talked about it and worked on it in case they need it. But my expectation is that Carolina will play straight up against both Cam Boozer and Pat Ngongba. But make someone else beat you. That is the biggest strength of Duke that the Tar Heels have to neutralize. And then thirdly, how, Carolina can win this game. And the question here is, what is the swing stat that's at play? I think the biggest one, the kind of weakness for both teams, that a statistical anomaly rise in percentage could win them the game, is the free throw line. It's well chronicled that the Tar Heels this year are not good free throw shooting team. Coming into this game, they are 50th in free throw attempts in the nation at 24.3 per game. So they take a bunch of them, but they only knock them down at a rate of 68.4%, which you guys is 311th in the nation. Oh, shout out to 311. I haven't thought about that band in, I do not know how long. Come original. You got to come original. Man, that was a bop when I was in high school. I love it. Now I need a drink. Excuse me. As for Duke, they're not that much better at the free throw line. They are a little bit better. They take fewer free throws per game. They're 60th in the nation, 23.9 to Carolina's 24.3. And they are better than Carolina, but not dramatically so from a percentage standpoint. Carolina 68.4, Duke 71.6, which isn't outside the top 300 like Carolina, but it's outside the top 200. And there's that. As a team, Duke has shot over 80% at the free throw line just once in the last 8 games and just 3 times all season. Carolina essentially in the same boat. They have shot over 80% just one time in the last 21 games. Literally the only other game other than 2 games ago that they shot over 80% was the season opener against Central Arkansas. That's it, those 2 games. So all of that said, my question is, as we look at the swing stat, which of these 2 teams is going to be able to get over and above their season average? Carolina now has done it 2 games in a row. They've been over 70% in both of them. I would take that. That's at least good enough to cancel out Duke, but I'd love to see even higher. Get to the line a bunch, draw fouls, and knock them down. That's the critical thing. And when Carolina did that 2 games ago, a big factor was because the combination of Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar were a combined 6 of 6 at the free throw line as Carolina went 11 of 12 as a team. And I bring that up because those are the guys that have struggled the most for Carolina, and they are first and third in number of free throw attempts per game for the Tar Heels, with Seth slotted in between. Similarly, Duke's starting front court of Boozer and Ngongba are their 2 main free throw shooters in terms of attempts per game, but similarly, they've not been great at the free throw line. So there's struggles for both teams. Who can outdo themselves, at least at the season average level? That team is going to be in much better shape, right? There's all these statistical anomalies that are at play. Speaking of which, coming up to wrap the show, a fun little segment that I'm calling the Rivalry Reality Check, where each team has to take a look in the mirror and say, ooh, that's what the opponent is good at. I'll bring that to you to wrap the show coming up in just a second. Right after we talk about Indeed, y'all, hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs, baby man, that is the move. Because instead of just hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you actually match with quality candidates by boosting your post listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If I was hiring, I wouldn't want just somebody who could help. I'd want somebody with real experience who can jump right in and make a big difference. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and you can target exactly what it is that you need. And with their sponsored jobs feature, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of Locked On Tar Heels, you get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. This episode's also brought to you by Game Time. Y'all, there's nothing like an NBA arena and being there for a game, the crowd, the energy, the moment. But getting tickets, man, that part always hasn't been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage right where it belongs, back with you, the fans. You can pull up the Game Time app, pick an NBA game that's upcoming, and have tickets locked and loaded in just a couple minutes. I love that you see all the prices up front. You don't have to, you see it and like, oh man, I wonder what the service charges and all these other things are going to be when I go to checkout. No. What you see is what you get. Great last minute options too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Now, obviously, going to this Duke Carolina game Saturday night is going to be expensive. Right now, the cheapest ticket's $469 on Game Time. But keep watching it, and there's a good chance that that price is going to go down the closer we get to tip-off. So keep watching. I promise you. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. It's time for the rivalry reality check. I've been practicing that so I don't fumble over it. UNC and Duke, the Tar Heels, the Blue Devils, both have to take a look in the mirror and recognize, hey, what is our opponent really good at? Let's start with the Tar Heels because that's the team we know better. First, there's two things I'm going to say about each team. Number one for Carolina is turnover percentage. The Tar Heels are elite at hanging on to the ball. Right now, Carolina turns the ball over just 13.7% of the time. That's 14th in the entire nation, all 365 teams in Division I. Looking at Duke for comparison's sake, they turn it over 16.2% of the time, basically 2.5 percentage points higher, which doesn't seem like that big a deal, but I promise you it is over the course of a game and a season, for example. So they're 127th nationally. UNC, the Tar Heels, Carolina is the superior team of these two when it comes to hanging on to the ball. Now, again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier is how does Derek Dixon handle the pressure of this first Duke game as a starter? The nice thing is it doesn't have to be all on him. Carolina has 6 different players averaging 2 assists or more a game. That's incredible stuff. But Carolina has to, this is not just oh, that's nice that they don't turn the ball over. No, this is a way that Carolina doesn't give away possessions. The more possessions you give away, the fewer shots you take. The fewer shots you take, the fewer shots go in. The fewer shots go in, the fewer points you score. The fewer points you score, the fewer games you win. And then your record's worse, right? So you can see how not turning the ball over sits upstream from winning basketball games. Hold on to the ball. Keep doing a great job with that. Carolina's been doing good. They just got to keep it up. Last 4 games, 3 of them were 8 turnovers, 4 turnovers, and then just 2 turnovers. It was crazy. That did go back up to 11 the other day in the weird Syracuse game. But here's the thing. Prior to that closing stretch where things just got wonky, Carolina was in single digits again. Man, if they could do that, if they could pull that off in this game, they'd be in great shape. And part of that, also, by not turning the ball over, Carolina has been consistently winning the points off turnovers battle. Doing that again would be huge. That's an X factor, a drop in the bucket in your favor. You start adding a couple of those up, and you might find yourself the winners of this game. The other thing, the other rivalry reality check for the Tar Heels, where they're really good, is bench production. I think this is another area where Carolina has an advantage over a lot of teams. Part of that is with Jaydon Young moving into the starting lineup of late. We'll see if he's still in the starting lineup Saturday. You've now got a Carolina team that scored 20. The bench has scored 20 or more points in 5 straight games and 25 or more points in 4 straight games. Man, that's a huge thing to bring Luka in, to bring Jarin in, to bring Jonathan Powell in, and those guys are contributing either double figures or 5, 6, 7 point. Man, every bit of that helps. Luka really settling in right now. Jarin, effort, activity, energy. Jonathan Powell knocking down some of those corner threes, getting to there. He had that dunk the other night, uses his length and athleticism to defend doggedly. And so those are two areas where I believe that Carolina has a real advantage that Duke is going to have to reckon with. On the Duke side, real advantages that Carolina is going to have to reckon with. Number one, the outlier of the 4 units, meaning UNC offense, UNC defense, Duke offense, Duke defense, the outlier from a Ken Palm efficiency perspective is Carolina's defense. Right now, Carolina's offense, 18th in the nation. Duke's offense, 5th in the nation. This is at Ken Palm offensive efficiency. Duke's defense, 3rd. Carolina's defense, 55th. We know, we've talked about it ad nauseum, how Carolina's defense has kind of gone off a cliff here in ACC play. There have been some glimpses of improvement in the past couple games. I will not deny that, but the offense is still far outshining the defense right now. So Duke, where they probably have an advantage here, is the opportunity to exploit a Carolina defense that's been struggling. This, though, is where we figure out, has Carolina made improvements? We'll see if they've got those figured out. If not, Duke's going to exploit it, and it could be a long night. Got to stay in front of your man. Can't help off too much. All of that kind of stuff. Duke will start knocking down threes. They're not a great three-point shooting team, but you leave them alone, just like anybody else at the D1 ACC level, they're going to hit them. And so that's where you worry, like, oh man, this is probably the best offense Carolina's played this season. And so not necessarily, again, because of three-point shooting. I'm not worried necessarily about Duke exploiting that because they're even a worse shooting team than the Tar Heels. But it's the all-around, where, again, they're 5th in offensive efficiency. Carolina is 55th in defensive efficiency. There are things that need to be ironed out, and that's a concern. The other area where I believe that Duke has an advantage that they could utilize over Carolina is the front court depth. Malik Brown comes off the bench and is probably the best defender on this team. And so when Pat Ngongba goes to take a blow, when Cam goes to take a blow, there he is. Malik Brown right there mixing it up. He's not going to, you don't expect him to do a ton offensively. Every time he scores, it's like a bonus kind of situation. But man, he can really muck things up. He's really switchable, can do a lot to bother you. And so that's an area where, Carolina's guy they're bringing in that same kind of role as Jarin. Jarin's great, but and is a strong defender, but not to the Malik Brown level. We have to recognize that. So how can Carolina get through the starting bigs and then get through Malik Brown as well? That's a tall, tough test, tall task, a lot to ask against Malik Brown. Can Carolina handle it? If so, again, they might be in really good shape. If not, could be a long night. All right, you guys, we got much more preview to do ahead of Saturday night's game. Can't wait. Again, tomorrow, Coach Rob and I on the regular show, and then JJ Jackson, host of Locked on Blue Devils, and I coming out at noon tomorrow, both on audio and video format. So be ready to check that out as well. If you've not subscribed to the show, by the way, on video, do it now. Hit the bell notification so you get notified. Every time a show is premiering, every time one of our shows is going live, you'll get a notification. You can tap right in. But also subscribe on your favorite audio platform so you can be listening as you drive around, mowing the lawn, doing laundry, whatever it is. Also, if you haven't checked out our Everydayers Club, that link's in the show notes, as is the link for the Locked on Tar Heels Discord. A great place to come and be and hang out with like-minded Tar Heel fans. I promise you, it's a safe and great place. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to be back with you tomorrow, but until then, peace.